Hey, what's up, everybody? You probably know about this by now, but so I thought I'd give my few cents on it. Apparently, this December, Nintendo's going to be shutting the pages, closing the pages on Nintendo Power. Now, for some of you that haven't really been following what Nintendo Power is, and I'd be surprised if you haven't, Nintendo Power was a magazine brought out in the late 80s by Nintendo to kind of give you a first bird's eye view, if you will, a sneak peek, if you will, at games to come, and as well as give you hints and cheats, if you will, of how to beat certain games, like what areas you could go in to try to beat a certain level in a game, or maybe even give you a certain password that you could use every time you pop a cartridge back in, and you can continue where you left off with that password. And it also gave you some mini comics as well, but again, also gave you a sneak peek, a bird's eye view sneak peek of what was being planned for future games. I mean, it was the magazine that anything Nintendo related to it, which it was made in Nintendo, it wasn't just games, it was gaming consoles, or console-related material. I mean, it was the first place where we got, it was the magazine where we first heard about the Super Nintendo coming. It was the magazine that told us about the Virtual Boy, even though that sucked. It was the magazine that told us about N64. It was the magazine that told us about the GameCube, the Wii, the DS, the Game Boy Advance, the Color Game Boy, Game Boy itself, and the list could go on, as well as the accessories that sometimes you would have to purchase for certain games on certain consoles. It gave you the opportunity to get an idea of what these were going to be, even if they weren't going to be the final product and all that. So, and sometimes, yeah, Nintendo had its, Nintendo Power kind of had some false information, and if it did, had some false information that would only come true in other areas. Like, I remember watching James Rolfe's Angry Video Game Nerd episode on the Godzilla games, and he said the Godzilla fighting game for the Super Nintendo that was advertised and talked about and kind of given a sneak peek of in the magazine only came out in Japan, not in the US. So it did have its kind of false advertising at times, but it basically, again, gave us things, gave us hints and codes, sometimes cheats, if you will, as well as, like I said, eagle-eye sneak peeks of what games were being developed and what accessories and new consoles were coming. And it also basically led the way. It pioneered the way, if you will, for other gaming magazines out there. It was basically the pioneer. It basically was the forefather, if you will, for gaming magazines to be produced by such, companies like Sega. It was the magazine that inspired such magazines by Sony and Microsoft for their PlayStation and Xbox consoles. It was the inspiration, the forefather for other magazines like Gaming Pro magazine and Codes and Cheats magazine, and the list goes on of video game related magazines to be published. They gave you, just like they did, a sneak peek of what games were coming. They give you a sneak peek of what consoles and accessories were being made. It was the inspiration for even having, let's say, Code and Cheats, for example, be a magazine to where you would look up a certain gaming console, look up the game that the part of that console, and see what codes you had to do, or what you had to do to unlock certain things, or what codes you could use to unlock certain characters or certain hidden items. Nintendo Power was the forefather, was the front runner for all that came after. And for it to close its doors, as Alpha Omega has talked about, for it to close its pages at the end of the year, all I could say is thank you to Nintendo Power, to Nintendo, for giving us that magazine. Thank you. We appreciate all the years of service your magazine gave us. Now, do I think Nintendo Power could be over as a physical as a physical magazine itself? Yeah, it is. But do I think its legacy will live on? I believe it will. In fact, I believe, just an honest opinion, Nintendo might put it as a digital magazine, like the kind you would read on the Kindle, or the iPad, or even your iPhone or iPod, if your iPod's compatible with it. But still, I don't think it's totally done. I just think it's done as a physical magazine. But if it's done completely, thank you Nintendo for giving us this magazine. They gave us all these opportunities and allowed it to be the forerunner, the forefather, if you will, for all those magazines that I've mentioned. So, give me your thoughts, response if you like. But again, at the end of the year, Nintendo Power will come to an end. In my honest opinion, though, I think it's going to continue on as a digital magazine. But that's just my opinion. Comment and response down below.